Well, it is nice to be back on solid ground again. If you've been following my Instagram account, Jonesing for Flavor, you would see that I was actually by the Pacific Coast with my grandfather and my brother, and we happened to catch some salmon and some halibut and some crab. In today's episode, I'm going to be cooking some salmon skewers, and in other episodes, I'm going to be incorporating my halibut and some crab into some recipes. So please stay tuned for those. My name is Brennan Jones, this is Jonesing for Flavor, and please enjoy some clips from my trip. Skip to 1 minute 50 if you do not want to see scenes of fishing. Today we have this beautiful fillet of spring salmon caught off the coast of British Columbia. As one of the most popular consumed fish in North America, it's not hard to see why people favor salmon so much. With its bright pink color, unique flavor, and tender flaky meat, it comes out amazing just about every time. Salmon is a delicate fish and should be handled with care as it can easily fall apart. You can cook it with or without the skin, but you must remove the scales beforehand. Today I'll remove the skin by taking a sharp knife to the corner of my fillet and slicing between the skin and meat. Make sure you take your time to avoid removing a lot of the meat from the fillet. The trick is to grab the skin and cut down and away from yourself. As you can see, I've lost very minimal meat, and now I can take the skin and discard it. I can't stand having a nice fillet of salmon and then having to pull bones out of my mouth every 5 seconds. So run your hand across the fillet to see if you can feel any bones that are protruding that can be removed. Using tweezers is ideal, instead I'll use a serrated knife pressed against my thumb to pull them out. I highly recommend using tweezers. When you're confident all the bones are removed, we can start cutting the fillet. Using a big kitchen knife, I'm going to cut my fillet in half, then cut it into pieces about 1.5 inches wide so they can cook evenly. If the piece of salmon is a little too long to manage, don't be afraid to cut it in half. Remember that you're looking for the same size thickness, not length. Before we can even think about putting our salmon on skewers, I'm going to coat them in a mixture of half sugar and half sea salt. As always, remember to do both sides. Not only does this help firm up our salmon, but also allows the sugar and salt to penetrate into the meat, so you're going to let this sit for at least 15 minutes in the fridge. During that 15 minutes, you're going to want to focus your attention to your skewers. By letting them soak in water for at least 10 minutes, it guarantees that they won't burn up when you're grilling. I'll let these soak, and in the meantime, I'll rinse off my salmon. As morbid as it is, it's time to give this fish the opportunity to swim one last time in an ice-cold bath. The ice in the water helps slow any bacteria growth the fish may have, and rinsing it removes whatever sugar and salt wasn't absorbed into the meat. Not rinsing it could make it too salty and sweet. After rinsing all the salmon, we can finally get on to skewering. The trick to skewering is to poke through the lines in the salmon. If you poke with the lines, you risk having it flake off before you can eat it. As I've learned while making this video, using 2 skewers is better than 1, as the salmon loves to slip around. With the skewers ready to go, it's time to season them. Use whatever seasonings you like. I'm going to keep it simple by using some chili powder, some salt, and some black pepper. Of course, I don't need to tell you, but I always season both sides. These will go in the fridge for now as I get started on my glaze. When making a glaze, use a low to medium-low heat. First ingredient is a 1/3 cup of maple syrup, 1 tablespoon of sweet soy sauce, a little hard to find but can be substituted for normal soy, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. Speaking of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon of sriracha. For this part I'd say crush 2 cloves of garlic, but I broke my crusher during the making of this, so I minced it instead. Let it simmer for about 8 to 10 minutes on low heat, making sure to stir it occasionally, as not to burn it until it's thickened up a bit. When it reaches this consistency, you can remove it from the heat, as it'll thicken the more it cools. And now let's get to work on our salmon. When you grill salmon, it can't be laid on top of a grill. It must be suspended as it will stick to the cooking surface. When the salmon turns from pink to white, 2/3 of the way up from the bottom, it can be flipped. Total cook time should be less than 10 minutes. When the tops are lightly blackened, it's ready to take off the grill.
To be honest with you guys, this one was tough. Salmon is so fragile, you do the littlest movement to it, it'll fall apart on you. This absolutely takes no time whatsoever to finish. It's such a nice appetizer or even a main course. You put this on with rice, absolutely delicious. It's just a little bit blackened from our charcoal, and then our beautiful sweet sauce on it with a little bit of an Asian influence, a little bit of Canadian influence. We got a little bit of heat in this sauce to go with the sweetness. It's just gonna be phenomenal. And I've already had this yesterday because I screwed up the first time. I know how this is gonna be, but you guys definitely have to try it at home. Oh yeah. And it's just fall apart because, well, it's salmon. The sriracha really works with this sauce. It's not too spicy. It's just got a little bit of a kick. That's it. That's all you need. Oh, man. Such a mess. Anyways, that's this episode. Thank you for sticking around for so long. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment down below for any future suggestions. I'll see you in the next one.